Then you get to a situation where somebody might say to me, right, we've got a question, and the question can be one of a million questions, like, have I got enough money? Can I take money out of my pension? You know, I'm worried about inheritance tax. Do I sell up and move abroad? Should I sell my company? I've just sold my company. I've just got divorced, or there's a death in the family. Whatever that question may be, is if that's your question, you're then finding somebody who can give you the answer. So you then say, okay, well, who do I go and talk to? And that might be a financial advisor, private banker, a wealth manager, stockbroker, whoever it may be. And you then say, okay, I'm going to find somebody that can give me that answer. And really what you're looking for is somebody you can trust. And so in your search, okay, you're trying to work out, well, can I trust that person? And the way you work that out tends to be about how you feel about that person. In other words, you're going to say, actually, I think I can get on with them. You know, they professional. They communicate well. They say things that I understand. They probably love their mothers. Okay, and they're actually genuinely nice people. And so you then say, actually, I could work with this person. So you then make your decision, say, okay, that's who I'm going to go with. And when you've done that, you then got to say to yourself, okay, but there's a problem, and the problem is you're trying to work out what you get from it, and what do they get from it? So, because there's going to be some sort of trade-off. So, you're trying to think, well, what's the angle? What's their angle? And as I said, what's in it for me, and what's in it for them? So invariably, when you're in a conversation, you've got your question, whatever it may be, and you're hoping that they will give you the answer to that question. So your objective is to get the answer. The problem is that their objective isn't the same as yours. Their objective, broadly speaking, is how can we look after your money? Because that's how they're paid to do. So in a roundabout way, the interests are not really aligned, because what they want and what you want are separate. But actually, it doesn't matter too much. And the reason why it doesn't matter is that for most people, they understand this, but they would then say, well, actually, as long as I get what I want, and what they get, and they get what they want, if there was a set of scales, and on those set of scales, they're broadly even, you'd say, well, look, I'm getting what I want out of it. I know they want to manage the money, okay? I know what they do, etc. But broadly, if it's sort of about equivalent, you think, that's okay, I'm happy with that. Then you get a problem. The problem is that the financial services industry, that balance isn't quite equal. It's actually tipped in their favour. And you've got to say to yourself, well, why should it be tipped in their favour? It's tipped in their favour because they have an advantage, and they have an advantage in that they know that you make decisions emotionally. They know that you're going to say to, in terms of working with somebody, they're going to say, look, actually, he's a nice person. I like working with him. And so what do? They therefore put people who are relationship people in front of you. Their job is to have a relationship-based person that works with you. And you therefore get what you want because they're relationship-based people. So they have an upper hand. And that upper hand means that they can then deliver their products and their services. At the end of the day, that's really what the name of the game as far as they're concerned. So the reality is that you're always going to find that financial services industry is having a balance more in their favour than your favour. And you're then going to say to yourself, well, is that fair? Because if you think about it, in that balance, you're providing all the capital, so you've got all the money, They haven't. You've got it. It's your money. So you provide that capital. You take all the risk. So you provide 100% of the capital and you take 100% of the risk. And then you've got to say to yourself, well, how much of the return should I get? Why is it that it should be in balance? In fact, it shouldn't be in favour of them. It should be in favour of me. Okay? So the question is, how do you then say, I don't quite like this. How do I change it? How do I change this? And really what we're saying is that the way you change it is go right back to your question. And whatever your question is, that as soon as you've asked that question, what you're looking for is some creative and some intelligent thinking to that question, and that's it. That's it. Is to have a discussion and think about your question so that it doesn't lead to a product or a service. In other words, the outcome is the thinking, the outcome isn't the product and the service. And if you can do that, what then happens is that you've moved from what they're providing and you actually now have your interests more aligned. So from our perspective, by talking to people about their problem, thinking intelligently and creatively about it, and the focus is on that, then you get an alignment of interests. So the conflicts of interest disappear, which exist normally. And when you then say to yourself, well, what have I got? Well, I've got an answer to my question. And once I've got my answer to my question, I can then decide what products and services I might use to solve that particular problem. So ultimately, the way in which you readdress that balance is you have to pay for thinking. You have to actually say, well, I need somebody to help me with my thinking, to give me an answer, and then I can go out to the marketplace and decide, who do I use? And how do I do it? If I want to do it myself, or I employ wealth managers or private bankers, whatever it is, the odds then of you getting a better outcome have just catapulted. Because you now understand and you've applied logic to your thinking, and therefore by applying that logic, you're more likely to have a successful outcome.